Hi guys, welcome back to The Baseline. Thanks for joining me again. I really appreciate it. Today we're going to be talking about China. China built while we scrolled. America's collapse, it could be happening in real time. So let's talk about it. You ever wake up, look around and think, wait a second, did we just accidentally give our entire industrial future to China and forget to keep the recipe for ourselves? Well, let me tell you guys something. The real Cold War isn't about nukes. It's not about nukes anymore. It's about microchips. It's about rare earth. It's about engineers. And who's got the brain power and the factory floor to survive the next economic war, which some could argue we're currently in. But here's the spoiler alert. It ain't looking great for Team USA. And that's hard, I think, for all of us here in America. Now, here's a question nobody in Washington wants to answer. If China decides tomorrow to switch every factory into military gear, like the United States did in World War II, what exactly are we switching? Our TikTok content? Farms? I don't know, because no one wants to admit all that's happening. But deep down, we all know we don't manufacture anymore. The United States has largely become a consumer country. That's all we do. We consume for the most part. And while we're busy arguing about pronouns and buying stuff we can't afford, China was producing engineers that can land a rover on the far side of the moon, which they did. So it's crazy, right? And it was the far side of the moon. So how did we get here? Let's talk about it, because I think it's worth delving into, because we can't fix anything until we look in the mirror. And here's what we're breaking down in this particular episode. Why China isn't the knockoff factory we think it is, but a sleeping tech superpower, for lack of a better way of putting it. And we have to also talk about how America went from industrial powerhouse to the Amazon Prime nation. And we have to acknowledge why human capital, people, might be the most underrated national resource we're throwing away like yesterday's packaging. So why is this happening? But before we examine that, we have to get to the scary part. And here's the curveball that no one's really expecting. The people who grew up under China's one-child policy, they're not spoiled brats. They're highly educated, laser-focused, and raised by tiger moms who made sure engineer wasn't just a dream. It was the standard. It was the only option. And that's how their culture has evolved. Now, they're 40-something-year-old experts running high-tech industries, solving quantum physics, creating quantum computers, and solving quantum problems. And yes, landing space equipment on the moon and the dark side of the moon like it was just a normal Tuesday. Meanwhile, we've got 18-year-olds who think a mechanical engineer is someone who fixes an air conditioning unit at Chipotle. Now, they are highly skilled, but they're not necessarily the engineers that we're talking about in competition with China and the tech industry. So let's get into it. 3 uncomfortable truths that America has to face and that it doesn't want to face. So China has the factories, the brains, and the urgency. We laugh about it. We used to laugh about things when we heard made in China, like it was a punchline. But the joke is on us right now, because while we turned our factories into fulfillment centers, China turned theirs into an economic war machine, waiting for a green light to go. Now, World War II, it taught us something. It taught us something extremely powerful. When you turn private industry into national defense overnight, you win wars. Now, ask yourself this. Ask yourself, if war breaks out tomorrow, can we even make our own bullets? And that's a scary question to ask, because we don't just import phones. We import the tools that make the phones. We've offshored our supply chain so far down, it now needs a passport and a translator just to get back to us. And China, they just flip a switch. Steel, chips, drones, tanks, and they're off and running. So another thing that we have to consider is America's feel-good education system and why it's failing hard. Now, here's where things get touchy, and it causes controversy, especially in the comment section. But in the United States, we give everyone a participation trophy. In China and much of Asia, you're ranked 1 to 100 publicly. So you know exactly where you stand, and they don't care about your self-esteem. If you're number 97, you're going to feel it. So we, on the other hand, have built a school system where nobody fails. But here's the catch. If nobody fails, nobody really succeeds either. And we have this mediocre line that we walk. And the worst part about it all is we don't even know how to identify brilliance anymore. Now, in Asia, if a kid shows talent, they get tracked, they get trained, and turned into elite performers. In the United States, in America, we medicate them, we give them ADD stuff, and then wonder why China's engineers are outpacing ours in artificial intelligence, in aerospace, and in biotech. Which brings us to our next point, which is human capital, which is the new oil, and we're leaking it right now. So let me hit you with this truth bomb. Human capital, meaning educated, skilled, driven people, it's the single most important asset to any country could have. And we are flushing it down the toilet. Now, Germany, they get it. They have trade schools. Their trade schools are linked directly with Volkswagen, with other corporations they have in their country, and they link it to actual jobs. Kids trained to build stuff that matters to the country and their economy. But in the United States, we told an entire generation that college is for everyone, and then let them graduate with $200,000 worth of debt and a degree in postmodern interpretive dance. It sounds harsh, but there's a reality to it. Meanwhile, our immigration policy, not based on skill, not based on integration, just vibes and volume. Let me be clear, immigration can be a blessing. It built this country, but the how of it matters, right? Because we used to say, bring you're tired, you're poor, you're hungry. But what if we added, and your mechanical engineers, your doctors, your coders, your robotics, your PhDs, you want real America first. If we want that, if we want an America first policy, start with people who can build the future, not just react to it. And it's hard to see because America has so many brilliant parts about it, but we're starting to see that other countries are taking the lead. So let's go back. Let me take you back. There was a time, right? There was a time in America where being in the bottom half of your class meant something. When West Point posted your ranking on the wall, and if you failed math, you didn't get a second chance. You packed your bags and you were out. And it was brutal. And now, though, we bend the standards until they snap. And we call that progress. But that's another type of brutality that is holding us down. We forget that excellence hurts, that competition builds capacity. And now we're competing with a country that never stopped ranking their kids, never stopped building, and never stopped building their factories. They never stopped playing the long game. And we have to catch back up to that type of standard where we're holding each other to the highest levels. And we're also started debating if math is problematic in school. I mean, there's so many crazy aspects to it, right? But look, you don't have to agree with everything I just said. As a matter of fact check it. Let me know where you think I'm wrong and put it in the comment section. But here's what we can't ignore. And I wonder if you guys will agree with this or not. While we're outsourcing factories, dumbing down schools, and drowning in social media wars, the rest of the world is building something real. And that's something to consider. And the next war, it's not going to be won with bombs. It's going to be won with brains. And that is an intense reality we have to understand. And if we don't fix this now, if we don't take our human capital seriously, then I think we have to get ready to be a footnote in someone else's history book. And I don't think that's anything that the American spirit really wants. Now, here's the twist, right? None of this matters if we don't talk about what China's doing with artificial intelligence next. Because it's not just factories anymore. They're building minds, and great minds, and technical minds. And in the next episode, we're going to have to go over exactly how they plan to outthink us before we blink. But maybe we'll have an opportunity to analyze all this and hopefully put the United States back in front again, which is what I hope for everybody here, right? Especially if we're all citizens here. So this is a baseline. Thank you guys so much for watching. And we'll catch you guys on the next round. All right. Cheers, everybody. Thanks.